Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Susan Linder, your host of the Innovation Storytellers Show. And today we're going to take a little international ride. We're going to be talking with one of the most important glass manufacturers on the planet. And we're going to look at this through a lens, wink, of the international scope of massive international, multinational manufacturing. And that's why I'm so excited to have Gökhan Doran with me today. He was appointed Division Vice President and General Manager at Corning International in June 2022. And Doran is responsible for partnering with businesses and functions to develop and deliver strategy for Corning businesses in geographies managed by Corning International. This includes responsibility for growth and talent and governance and compliance across Corning International entities far and wide. Gökhan, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. We've been talking about storytelling for a long time, and I'm so eager for you to share your experiences with my audience today.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for having me today. It's very exciting to be with you on this podcast. And then I'm so excited also to address the audience and share my experience, if that may be any help.
Yes, as I'm sure it will be. So tell us, how did you get into this space to begin with, right? You're following an academic path and you decide to come out into the world and you go, manufacturing. This sounds like a great place to start. How did you get into this innovating in the international space?
Oh, that's a long story. Let me try to summarize this. I think we are wired in such a way in our childhood to become either an engineer or a doctor or a poet or an artist. And from those multiple selections, I think my wires were towards more engineering, mathematics, physics, and chemistry. So without knowing, I was more handy in homework, right? I was more opening that time radios, breaking that into parts and cannot bring them together. But that was my curiosity. So that led me to a kind of this engineering mathematical skill led path. And then the high school years were in a German high school. So you want it or you don't, you get this format in your brain embedded even without you knowing it after your high school years. So that also gives probably more of the shape and fits to my character and my values perfectly of being disciplined, organized, and then having more structured way of doing things. So, well, when you add all these skills in that space together, you end up in manufacturing. So that's how it went. And then I chose first Siemens to start with. Very innovative driven space. It was fiber optic cables that time and very booming with the high speed internet and coming into our houses. So that I went into first sales. And then with Corning, I also enjoyed a decade almost in manufacturing of fiber optic cables. So that gave me a different perspective in tasting the shop floor, getting this fume in my lungs and how things become a different shape or form after processes. So that was very interesting, looking into heat conversion, extrusion process, drawing process, and then ending up with a totally different product that serves a totally different purpose was very interesting for me. And there you have the possibility to tweak the numbers and then or turn some knobs to see what's changing in the process, how heat impacts the output or how speed impacts the output, and then you come up with another solution to optimize your processes. And then that was very much serving my needs, my appetite in that area. And then I started also be interested in management, how people are managed, how the processes are managed. What if we can speak the same language or different in different functions and businesses? And that grew my appetite in different segments, industries that Corning serves. So I become more interested in the divisions, in the products that was out of my scope and try to combine those synergies together whenever they work together, probably it will be a better world for us. So I spent time more on developing myself in that parkour.
Well, I love how you talk about that framing of being in this German educational system, right? Having a German background myself, that mindset of engineering, making things, precision, right? There's something about the German mindset and the educational system that speaks to quality and speaks to precision that lends itself to incredible manufacturing, right? It's like such a natural progression. I mean, even that mindset around precision winds up taking place, whether it's buying a car, whether it's buying a home, or even music, right? With its creativity, there's something precise about German classical musicians. I even think of it's almost ingrained as part of the culture that lends itself to great manufacturing, frankly. Yeah.
That's very true. Of course, during my manufacturing years, now I can see looking back, so much into this perfectionism and then this precise tooling and outputs. Now I can see that I missed the fact of what would that be, how that be perceived from the audience, from the customer's perspective. Is that really what our customers want? A perfect product? Are they really to pay for it? Now I can relate back and say, maybe we were looking from a different angle to perfectionize the end product according to ourselves, how we want it to appear, how we want it to be perceived in the market. But we should have probably listened more to the market, to the industry, to our customers. What is the perfection from their understanding? And then mix all these together and then create a different product or services that everybody can enjoy.
So so you get into this manufacturing state of mind and you're watching from the shop floor how raw materials are being changed into all these different products, right? But then there's that there's that amazing Corning mindset that says we make great things here, right? And we're proud of how we make them. And that kind of 100-year plus legacy, right? 170 years, is that where we're at?
A little bit more than that, yes.
Yeah. Legacy of making great things. We had the head of innovation from Corning on the show. One of my first guests, Marty Curran and Anis Fadul, they were on together. And we talked about this incredible legacy of innovation at a place like Corning. And even there's an innovation archive. I love coming to the Corning Museum and just seeing historically what this company has produced, its scientists, its breakthrough mindset, right? And thinking about how that has evolved over time. How do you take that innovation mindset and then your function, right, is internationalizing the innovation mindset across countries, across cultures, and taking manufacturing into different places that perhaps it wasn't originally thought of by the founders, let's say?
I agree with that. Um, my recipe is actually relies on companies' culture and values. We are very much dedicated to solve tough customer problems. And customer problems yesterday were different. Today, it's a total different story. And then I'm sure tomorrow there will be different problems. So if we keep evolving with that, I think we are getting better. And solving these tough problems makes us also very strong in our products and processes to come up with ideas, generate these new solutions, and to use in a good way of the human benefit or the world's benefit. Now, how I adapt this to the international regions is I see innovation is changing and creating new things, not necessarily tied up to a product or services. It could be ideas, it could be style, it could be a tactic, it could be a strategy, it could be anything. And now, especially, I think, Susan, post COVID, I think the cards are new, distributed again, the deck, and we are trying to find out what's the best, how to serve that market. because we know from our past experience, if we keep repeating the past habits, this will not work anymore. As I said, post COVID, there's a new world out there. And our job is to find out and address this new world and see what is changed, and then look into how we can accept this and then create a new strategy and act on this strategy and keep changing again and revolving this formula, where it's also one of our company's strategic point is the AAA, we call it. It's based on awareness, acceptance, and action. So if you keep circling this, right, you get the updated information, updated characteristics, updated strategies, and then I found is very easily to get outdated when you don't follow this. As I said, especially post COVID, people don't want to work as they were working from offices. Negotiations with the customer are not done as they were before. Products are now also evolving to adapt to the new reality. Faster internet, much more cleaner cars, and high speed microchips, more capable microchips. So take it to any sector. I think it's not the same anymore. So I am looking in this whole ecosystem, what is the new thing there, and how can we adapt to this new change, and then bring new formulas to capture that change, and then keep repeating the same thing.
And what are some of those new formulas you're thinking about?
Now, with all these political changes globally, and the appetite to access much more faster internet, much more broader scope, artificial intelligence, how the cars will become in the future. Will they be totally autonomous? Will there be I don't know, electrified? So all these things are the new environment, and I'm trying to see where is the center of gravity for each of these capabilities, of these new changes in each region, in each country, and then try to understand what is the dynamic in that specific region. And now with all these, again, turbulences, probably shipping products here and there over the world doesn't make sense anymore. So why don't we try to partner with local talents, with local companies in the region, to try to look for a win situation where we can transfer technology and they can do the localization in their own region to address their market.
This sounds like something simple, but it's a much bigger deal, right? Internationalization, when you are accustomed to doing manufacturing at Corning or in a big manufacturing center like Wuhan or another place, to suddenly say, we're going to localize our manufacturing, we're going to work with partners. This is a different mindset, right? It's really a shift, not just in the doing, but in the culture. And thinking about our balance sheets, it's a business model shift that takes a lot of movement to get people from one way of thinking of we're Corning, we do it all ourselves, right, to beginning to trust partners and look to other places and unique ways of getting the manufacturing done.
Absolutely correct. Therefore, we have a very thorough filter in when we look for a partner in a specific country or region, and we look for similar genes that we have. If this company also has in their genes with innovation, are they really dedicated to solve tough problems as we are, so that we can share similar values and concepts? And it's not only transferring technology and let the partner produce locally, it's creating a synergy, it's creating a new value between these two companies in this cooperation, and probably depending each other on the next level. Where do we want to bring this tomorrow? Is it the same product? Is it the same services? Or do we want to cover more different areas and address more different industries? all right? And this is also changing globally. Today, I think one product in any industry might be served in one only company, but now it covers multiple areas, and you can address that very different and diverse ways, having a matrix probably structure, looking into the diversification and creating different values and benefits for the stakeholders.
Yeah, because suddenly I mean, I think the trust factor is such an underrated discussion
Mm.
in creating internationalization programs, right? That the shift that has to take place in the mindset from going to we do this, we own this is our stuff, we stand behind it, to suddenly find partners that you're capable of trusting, that you're capable of sharing IP with, and really ensuring that, okay, we're going to start working in Uganda and Brazil and places that we might have done business there before, but to suddenly release that manufacturing muscle to a partner. What, how did you convince people, Gökhan, that this was the way to really begin thinking about things in a different way? What were some of the stories you told to get people on board?
I think I will refer back to the original values.
Mm.
If I can present that the prospective partner has a similar values with us and share the same feelings and also look after the same opportunities, you don't need to do a big convincing, right? Because that matches together, that overlaps, where you can say, well, we are both going to create a new product together with my capability on glass science and their capability on, I don't know, localization or manufacturing. So we can combine those synergies together and sit back tomorrow and look after it as a what a nice, perfect solution. If we can do that, I think that doesn't need any convincing. That comes automatically. It's important to find that match together, that partnership that will work or last longer. That's the important piece. And as I said, I think there's a big, thorough filter in that area that we use frequently to assess the environment, our partners, and choose the right one, not for a short win or short relationship, but will last longer. And when you look into the company's history, I think we have a very solid examples of these.
That start with your core values, right, is rule number one whenever you're looking to do a deal with anyone. I also think it's why I think the number is something like 68% of mergers and acquisitions fail, for where the acquired entity either doesn't get appropriately absorbed or the technology is shelved or the people wind up leaving, right? Because that inherent connection around core values isn't there. I think that's really the glue. I think you summed that up so beautifully. But the other piece is there's just fear of change, isn't there? Of suddenly doing something differently. Do you use, as part of the storytelling, do you say, look what our competitors are doing? Like, this is part and parcel of how business gets done today. Or is the argument, as we're a more dynamic organization, because we can be more flexible when everything isn't centralized, we're a stronger organization because we have all these other nodes that we can rely on in the midst of VUCA, right? All this volatility, uncertainty, et cetera, that comes with the territory.
Absolutely. I agree with this comment. And we human beings, we love our comfort zones and we don't want to be challenged. And I think this is the greatest barrier we have. But it's our safety zone. We don't want to change. And anything goes beyond that area, which we don't know, becomes a fear for us, right? And I think that's not knowing what's beyond that wall is the fear. And if we can break these walls, how nice it would be, how easy it would be. But as you said, it's not very common thing. So I always remembered the quote. I believe it was from a Greek mythology, from Plato. He said, "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark, but the tragedy is when the men are afraid of light. So that is something that touches me. And I want to try new things. I want to go beyond that wall. And with knowing that I have my anchored in my comfort zone, so I can't go far. I must also relate to this German format I have here that keeps me on track, disciplined. So, but I'm curious, so I want to climb that wall and look what's beyond, and then step by step go there and make the change. And then once I'm there, now that means my walls is extended, and now I have another wall. So there are always mountains behind mountains, but keep going and keep changing. I think this is my key to success.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming when you walk into a room, people are going, oh gosh, what does Gökhan have for us today? What is this next new change that we're going to hear?
Yes.
How do you prepare people to constantly give up their comfort zone? What's the conversation like at the boardroom table or over a Zoom call with senior leaders to saying, we're changing again?
I feel more comfortable when somebody's standing next to me. When I walk together, I feel much more comfortable and much more secure. Same thing driving the car. Okay, I'm much more comfortable if my wife sits next to me or my friend than driving alone. So with that wired, I think I try to give that sense. Hey, people, friends, look, let's climb that wall together. It's not I'm asking you to do it. Let's do it together. I will feel much comfortable, and I'm sure you will feel much more comfortable. And if there's bad thing behind that wall, we'll protect each other. We'll look after each other. But certainly we will not be that far because my German anchor is holding me so that I don't get drawn. So that I think that point gives me this courage to look after it, not go too far, but step by step, and then look for another one and look for another one.
This is such you and I do storytelling work together. And so this is such an important part of the innovation storytelling process. There are these 3 steps. Once you establish what it is, this big idea, the change that you want to make, the next 3 steps are, number 1, who are my adopters and allies? Who are the people I can turn to and say, take this road with me, or give as evidence people who have already taken this unknown road and have succeeded, right? So whenever you're telling an innovation story and you're asking people to change, you need third-party validation to say, we believe in this, we've done this, it's worked out well for us, or we're in the midst of it and we think it's really going to make a difference for us, right? We don't even need to have a finished product, but we need someone else to stand up for us and say, I believe in this. So that's step 1, adopters and allies. Step 2 is identify the obstacles and let people know they're not going at it alone. So when you're telling people to make change, it's tell me what makes you scared. Tell me what keeps you up at night, and you and I will go hand in this together. And the last piece of that is the win, is the innovator is responsible for showing how we both win when they accept our request for change. So it's not just that I'm going to make your life better. Your team is going to be so much more profitable. This is going to increase productivity amazingly. You also have to confess, by the way, I'm getting something out of this too. And then how do you continue to incorporate the feedback from you are the change maker to the change agent? What is the feedback that the change agent will constantly feed back to you so that you can continue to improve your program of change? So when you're getting insights from the field, it's really important that you show the world, well, here's what we learned in Brazil. Here's what we learned in Beijing. Here's what we learned in Uganda, and constantly incorporate that data back into the next story so that the pie keeps getting bigger and everyone gets a slice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Important steps in the storytelling process so we don't lose things along the way. We have to address the obstacles. We have to tell people we're going to be by their side, and we have to show them how we're both going to win in the future together.
That's a very good analogy. And the more I travel into regions, I happen to see there's so many different ways of going to the same target. And it depends on the culture, it depends on the industry, region, language, money, you name it. There are so many factors there. And the more I can convince my partner, my colleague, my friend, going to the same result in multiple different ways is will bring a better, I think, output, which will at the end be for the greater good of the company. Not only mine, not only theirs, but for all of us. And even this brings me now, it makes me goosebumps to this idea of unifying the powers of every different culture, every different ways of doing things, and becoming a one big power of this from this is a great will bring me a great joy. This is my ultimate purpose with all the functions, with all the businesses in the company, to build this big power wherever it makes sense, and then go after the greater good for the company.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way of thinking about it. Very optimistic.
Mm.
Is there a particular innovation or change, Gökhan, that you are most proud of in the work that you've done at Corning?
I think my short memory reminds me the last 2.5 years in this current role. What we did so far was to build local partnerships in Brazil, in India, in Singapore, Vietnam, now Japan, in Africa, in Nigeria. I think these are the very valuable, diverse examples that I can show how we can put a different portfolio on the table that will address the greater good of the company, and also put small eggs in different baskets and diversify your investments, and also expect them to grow each individually. So this, I think, is a great opportunity for the international markets, and trying to innovate new ways and listen to the partners about their ideas of growth, of innovation, of achieving results, working with different people, understanding their nuances, and again, confirming that, well, this is a different way of doing this, but if this works, why not? So looking into these opportunities is a great benefit, and I'm enjoying this very much.
Yeah. You become a corporate anthropologist as a result of
Kind of,
this work,
kind
right?
of. Yes, kind of.
It's really important that we kind of make our minds a little bit more flexible to different cultures and ways of getting things done, because we can't apply the same American frameworks around the world, right? There are some guidelines, but boy, we have so much to learn from how other people get it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, Gökhan, we've come to the part of the program where I ask you my 3 questions that all innovators need to answer. So, number
Okay.
1, what is the greatest innovation of all time?
Oh man, I'm not going to give a cliche answer. I'm just trying to find what drove me most in this sense. I believe this is more in communications. How, I don't know, maybe fiber changed our life. Can't go away from my company roots, and this become more global norm of communication is reaching out to the other one, sharing feelings, and then looking for building bridges, and that made the world smaller for us. I think the terminology when I was studying was the global village, and that's, I think, is a great innovation, how we made the world of a global village.
Yeah. And that's fiber and telephony and even the internet that rides on that fiber today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you had the chance to join any innovation team in human history, we're working to dispel the myth of one great genius thinker getting stuff done. We know there's always teams involved with that. So, what innovation team would you have liked to have joined over the course of human history?
I would probably be very proud of a team of SpaceX, maybe specifically, where they're not being convinced of what they're doing today until probably they reach Mars and settle there or start there a new settlement. And how that can be exciting, uh, reaching out to and not being satisfied with that and going more beyond. The philosophy of this is very exciting. Not setting a foot in Mars, yeah, that's probably will happen. But this thinking, how they can set their norms so high and not get satisfied with what they are doing today. I mean, bringing a spaceship back and landing it on Earth, it's a big deal. But
Big deal.
they say, "Well, that's a." They don't get that much satisfaction. They look for much more beyond. That always attracts me when I ever read their stories and then look after their articles. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that big picture thinking, right? That future, almost legacy-based thinking.
Right.
Yeah, so you're gonna join the team at SpaceX. I got it. And lastly, what's something that you wish someone would innovate? Something that exists in the world, something that drives you crazy that you wish someone would fix, or something you just wish existed in the world that doesn't exist today?
I'm going to be a little bit wishful today, and I wish we could be transferred of push of a button from a location to a next one without jumping on a plane or somewhere. Especially now in my either current role, I'm currently traveling, frequently traveling. So I wish with a push of a button, I would wake up in Tokyo tomorrow, or just come back to Corning, and then and next hour I'm in Germany. That will
Oh,
make my life easier.
yes, teleportation. Wouldn't that be nice? To
Yes.
never have to take off your shoes in an airport again would be a beautiful thing.
No, what about yes, include
Well, Gökhan, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
email is the best one. You'll never know if I'm flying or in a tunnel, so mobile reception is not very fond, but email is the best way that they can reach out.
Yeah, or maybe LinkedIn is
Is
another way
another
to
option,
find
yes.
you.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Gökhan Doran, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm so glad we were able to have this conversation.
It was my pleasure, Susan. Thank you so much. It was very enjoying.